Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to HSMAI Europe's webinar. We are right now at the TIF in Oslo, and we are going to talk about customer experience. And as most of you know, we are not able to have a conversation here, but you can type your questions and we will get back to you. Let me introduce the speaker of today, which is Professor Dr. Phil Close. Welcome, Phil.
Thank you so very much for having me, Ingun. It's a pleasure and a delight to be here today. And thank you so very much for attending our webinar. The interaction will follow via written communication. So whenever you have something on your mind or a question, something you would like to clarify, please do just go ahead. I met Ingun a few months ago during the HSMAI European conference, if you would like to, but it was more for us as judges to find out who will be the best in which category. And while we were looking at hospitality and see what is best practice currently, we were discussing more and more the theme of customer experience. And this is where my research comes in. I, as an academic, and believe me, I'm not just an academic, because before I became an academic, I had a real job as a senior marketing manager or senior manager, just as you, were always fascinated about customer experience. What is it? What could it be? What can we do with it? And customer experience in itself is a challenge. And this is where we all started out. Ingun.
Can everyone hear Dr. Phil speaking?
That's a tough one, because now you have to type in yes if you want to. Or even better would be if you just write us if you cannot hear us or if there's some problems, because if we get a message from you, then we just can relate to it. Thank you. Of course, now that I think about it, if you cannot hear us, how can you type in if you have a yes or a no? That doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Okay, I hope you can hear us well. And we also have Benedicta with us. We will make sure that everything works the way we want to. Back to customer experience. Why is it important? Let me look at something right here and share my presentation with you. Our first question when we started our global and longitudinal research with colleagues of mine is, what exactly is customer experience? Like every good scholar and academic, first we Googled it up. What did we come up with? Over 490 million hits in 0.49 seconds. Just looking at the sheer number and the vast amount of responses, we thought that might be of interest to people. And I do not know which one of you are, but if you are on LinkedIn, you're most certainly aware of this platform. Next thing we did recently is check on LinkedIn who is, as a professional, associated with customer experience. And there were 1.4 million associated members. Now let's let that sink in for a moment. There are 1.4 million people who are managers, consultants, or highly engaged into customer experience. That's a lot of people, isn't it? So we looked at it a little bit furthermore. We wanted to find out with colleagues of Bain Consultancy in Boston and the Harvard Business Review, what are great customer experience? Not only what they are, how will they be delivered? One piece of research we did a few years ago, or Bain on our behalf, was to ask which CEOs, if they've been asked, deliver great customer experience, meaning their companies deliver great customer experience. In percentage, it was overwhelming. 80% out of the CEOs said, yes, we deliver not just good experience, but great customer experiences. Some of you might say, well, it's the job of a CEO to say, of course we deliver great customer experience. After all, it's a CEO. They will never say, no, we are really bad in taking care of our customers. But what our colleagues did was very well designed, and then they went in the next step, in the subsequent step, to the customers of these companies and asked them if they perceive that they receive great customer experience. And as one might imagine, the discrepancy was there. As a matter of fact, it was only 8% of their customers that agreed with them that they deliver great customer experience. Between 80% and 8% in academia, we consider that a slight gap in perception. And this initiated some stream of our research because we wanted to find out why is this difference between the 18 and the 8. So we asked further, how do you define customer experience? In today's world, we have access to information literally on our fingertips. So if, for example, if you look at blogs, there are 44 customer experience blogs we should be reading, etc., etc., etc. There are 193 million hits just associated with blogs and customer experience. So lots and lots of information. But what we wanted to find out is take a look at the solution providers. Who is in the game of customer experience, to say? And one thing we find out, companies like Oracle, Adobe, IBM, or even the consultants, Forrester, Bain, are out there. And if you just for fun Googled up experts, you find over 56 million of them. So if you ever have some kind of customer experience management challenge, just type in any one of them and you get advice. And of course, it's not only B2B or B2C, it's only the customer-to-customer interaction. We're talking here Facebook, Twitter, or for example, a platform like TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor now is the most used not only reference but also search engine for any kind of interactions in hospitality and tourism in your business. Therefore, pretty relevant. And if you think how they started out, just a little platform where people could exchange what they thought, it's amazing, isn't it? And all driven again by customers and their experiences and their need or want to exchange this experience with others. So by looking at this, can we say that customer experience is everything? Because we went through the material that these people provided and their definition of customer experience. And to be quite honest, it's so broad that it sounds like the theory of everything. Every direct, indirect interaction with customers, other customers, third times customers. We talk about a whole ecosystem that is influenced there. And in our research, we always aim to deliver something actionable results, something you can work with. And with this theory of everything, it becomes, in our opinion, the theory of nothing. Because you cannot go to the CEO when he asks you, hey, what are we going to do with this customer experience management program? And how do we proceed with in the best possible fashion? Well, it's about everything. That's very little help. So what we are trying to do and what we are looking at, we had two approaches from our research client. Approach number one is think about a measurement. Why a measurement? Peter F. Drucker stated it already in the 1970s. It's only what gets measured gets managed. So measurement always helps you benchmark internally, externally, look at the process, see how the action that you implement in there will be used and what impact they do have. And the second thing they always ask us, is there research that will allow us to demonstrate A, what kind of customer experience strategies are out there, and B, if they are out there, which one are the most profitable ones? Well, this piece of research led to the following. This is a typology of customer experience management practices. It's based on a longitudinal global study we ran with over 311 companies. What we did here, we wanted to have a truly representative global status quo of customer experience management. The companies that provided the data had for at least 5 years a customer experience management program. Why at least 5 years? Because we know now from our research that from the start of an idea, developing a customer management strategy, until implementation and see the first time an impact on your practices and on your profitability, it takes 3 to 4 years. The companies range from US headquarters with over 10,000 employees to European companies with at least 50 employees. What they all have in common, they have a designated customer experience management program. Not just a little bit of a side gig, but a designated program. Looking at this, and you can look at it later on in more detail, we found out that there are 3 clusters, 3 ways to do customer experience management. How do they practice it? The good thing is, these practices are the same. It doesn't matter if you're in B2B or B2C. It doesn't matter if you focus on online versus offline. It doesn't matter where you are located around the globe. It doesn't matter how many people you employ. And it doesn't matter if your focus is on a product, on manufacturing, servicing, IT, or whatever it is. The rules apply the same. Let's look at them. Starting on the left-hand side. First, we got what we call preservers. Preservers are companies that look first and foremost at customer experience as a little bit of an enhancement, an add-on that they would like to add, a little feather that they say, oh, we can put that in our hat in order to see how it works. Mostly it's a little bit of rebranding. We encountered very often that the people who were before customer service manager or brand managers are now called customer experience managers. Or we thought that there was a little bit of change in how they measured it, or a little bit of new things that were incorporated. The logic behind that is the saying, we are already successful. We know that customer experience is important. We don't know how to take advantage of it, but we believe by adding on to the core of what we have, we will find what we are doing correctly. And you can see on the left-hand side, there are 5 different dimensions, going from definition, scope, and objectives to how we govern customer experience, operationalizing it, the question of policy development, and what they think the challenges are. Now moving to the right, we are going to the transformers. Transformers, why transformers? Because they believe it's a little bit more than what our preservers say, meaning there's a clear acknowledgement that it is strategically important and it's broader than everything they know before. They try to link this to organizational goals and their strategy, and do that by, for example, looking at channel integration, looking at how does it influence loyalty, brand perception, and recommendation. There is a strategic intent, but that varies according to the sponsorship, meaning how much support does it have internally. Very often we find in transformer companies that customer experience management started out with a pilot study or with one example using one market or one particular product service offering to go from one place to another. Challenges, plenty of them. And transformers, in a way, you could make a connection to Porter and his strategic model and can say they're caught in the middle, somewhere in between. According to Porter, being caught in the middle is not a good way. But let's focus on the right-hand side, vanguards. Vanguards are by far the minority of all the companies we interviewed. Their customer experience takes on an entirely different strategy approach. This is a strategy. Customer experience is the first and the last thing. Everything revolves around what the customer experience. People are hired based on if they deliver the best customer experience. Suppliers are trained and remunerated based upon the perception of the customer experience. Everything is about how will our customers longitudinal experience it. And one thing that always stands out, if I compare preservers with vanguards, or we're moving to the right-hand side, vanguards are never competing against. They are always competing for their customers. The market is just a secondary item and influence. It's all about their customers. They also know that satisfaction and the quality of service cannot be the focus of customer experience. Traditionally, we always think about service, the service interaction, the point of sale, when we buy. But our research clearly shows that the most important part influencing behavior. And ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about behavior here. We're not talking about intentions of doing something. We are talking about purchasing behavior, meaning buying more and more often to generate profits. It's not about satisfaction either, because the correlation between satisfaction and behavior is debatable, to say the least, by empirical evidence. We look at why people buy and buy more often. And that starts way before somebody purchases something. I always find it amazing to hear from people that they focus all the personal interactions and all their training of somebody coming in a store. Before you go in a store, you already have a perception. I don't recall somebody coming from a different planet and landing in an Apple store and not knowing what's expected from him. But one thing that our research also clearly points out in terms of customer decision making, the most relevant part is after they purchase, meaning when we are using products or services. 75% of repurchasing behavior is based on moments, interactions, and actions after the purchase. And we can all relate to that, let's be quite honest. When was the last time you were happy with when you got something and then the trouble started and that really made a difference? Think about a car. We worked with a manufacturing company there, and they were surprised that despite the extremely high satisfaction ranking that their customers had at the purchase and shortly after the purchase, that only 1 out of 5 of the customers returned to them. The explanation was quite easy. The average lifespan of an automotive today is 36 months, 3 years. In between these 3 years, lots and lots of things happen. Think about yourself. You got the car, you're all happy, it drives around, and then you got the first service for the first time. You call the mechanic up, he says, oh, come in on Monday, Tuesday, or whenever it is, and then bring it in and arrange yourself. Well, we worked at a company who had a similar approach, but they changed it because they realized this decision, this discrepancy between highly satisfied and not coming back was based upon what happened after the sales. So now they're calling the customer based on the data they have and tell them, we believe your car inspection will be due in the next months. What we would like to offer you is A, an appointment that would suit you, B, a solution how to get to us, and C, how we can help you to get from here to your job or you need anything else. And by the way, we recall you might be interested in this newest model we have. Since they changed the approach, not only their customer satisfaction, which was irrelevant in the first place, changed dramatically, but more importantly, their share of category, meaning how much of the money for automotives are spent with that particular brand, increased dramatically, and the repurchasing behavior, which you could also call loyalty, if you so like, increased dramatically, tripled to be quite honest. Because they understood one thing, you have to have the entire experience in mind. And that also demonstrates you, because whenever we represent our finding to a CEO, the first question when they hear it is like, which one is the most profitable one? Quite honestly, they are the vanguards. Vanguards outperform preservers by almost 6 times and transformers by almost double. So one thing you can see, the more you get into a vanguard mind setting, the more profitable you are. So by hearing that, the question of the CEO is how to become a vanguard. Well, makes a lot of sense. Not everybody can become a vanguard, though, regrettably, because often there is not the right support. There are not the ability there, not yet the willingness, or there's no chance to build dynamic capabilities. However, even if you don't become a vanguard, going to a customer experience, a true customer experience, meaning focused around the needs, benefits, solutions, and experience of your customer program, the more profitable you get. And that was now a little short introduction. I mean, more than short, to be quite honest, but I wanted to give you as much background as possible to now read your questions and address them. Looking forward to your comments. Thank you. Can I get the presentation afterwards? Ask from Terje Olsen. Ingun?
Yes, Tarja, you can get the presentation afterwards. And Benedicte will send it to all of you, and we have your emails to everyone attending.
And you will find also, when we send the presentation, there will be a few more slides with some additional, how shall I say, gifts for the attendees of the webinar and other. You're welcome, Terje, and other things you might need.
And for your information, we are also recording this webinar, so we will send it to you afterwards so you have everything there too, in addition to the slides.
So all we're going to do now is sit here and wait for your questions. Probably you're overwhelmed by the presentation, or I've been too fast.
Phil is both a professor and a doctor, so he has all the experience in the world. He is German to start with, but is based in Italy. So Phil, just give us a brief update on what you do as your daily job.
Oh, my daily job is actually to conduct research and share it with people like you. That's pretty much all I do. At the end of the day, a colleague of mine says, we are just people trying to figure out. We are driven by the need and the urge to find information. Information in terms of that we can deliver something that will truly help you. In truly helping, I mean managerial tools that you can use and implement to make your life easier. Customer experience is on our agenda because we believe it's a little bit more than just customer experience. Because if customers are happy, people are happy, and who doesn't want to be happy? So there's a little bit in there too. And we believe customer experience doesn't end with businesses. That's also, we have some projects with public services and even with the government, because they also do realize that customer experience has a function beyond that.
We have, amongst many other attendees, Mövenpick, Carlson Residor, and Kempinski attending this webinar. So since you're all representing many hotels, please feel free to come up with questions, and Phil is here to answer all of them. Thank you. Then maybe you can refer to the pool.
Yeah, and by the way, we also have a poll here. I don't know if it's accessible to you. I hope it is accessible to you. But what I'm trying to find out here, in your opinion, what is the biggest challenge for customer experience management? I mean, we have different challenges here in the last of our slides that preservers, transformers, and vanguards believe were the challenge, but just click on one and let us know which one it is. Okay, it should be available to you right now. And we want to know, what do you think? Because I believe when you're coming in here, you must be customer experience managers, or customer experience is on your mind. And we already have some reviews. People say it's measuring customer experience. Well, measuring customer experience and linking it to profitability, the poll is constantly changing. Here we go. In the meantime, while we are looking at it, measuring customer experience, still the top one. Oh yeah. So with 40% of the votes in, 60% of you voted for measuring customer experience as the number one reason, as the number one challenge, so to say. And that goes with our research, because only what gets measured gets managed. Measuring customer experience is a problem or a challenge. I rather talk about challenges, because challenges we do can turn into opportunities rather than the other way around. And that leads us to the number 2 point in our poll, linking customer experience management to profitability, which seem to be the two main challenges. Why are they the main challenges? Clearly, because you have to make a business case for it. Business cases are made upon that you link it to profitability, and profitability link equals measurements. How do you measure it? Most people already have some measurements. They measure the brand perception and believe that as an outcome, they believe that customer experience has a link to customer satisfaction, but really measuring customer satisfaction is not. One thing that's quite popular is the NPS, Net Promoter Score. And every time I speak at conference or I talk to CEO, there's no way to avoid it, and I don't mind to avoid it at all, a discussion about the Net Promoter Score. The Net Promoter Score in itself, and there's a great article in the Journal of Marketing of colleagues of mine in 2007, does not promise, does not deliver upon its promises. It just doesn't work. Because look at it by definition. You are measuring a very biased sample size, and you still don't know why people do what they do. So there's always a lack there. But the more important thing I believe that NPS has, and why it is important, it's kind of a change management program. Because once you introduce NPS in your company, and that's a great benefit of it, everybody in the company is aware of how important the customer is. And that's something we should always look at. How important is the customer? And if you get everybody to buy in and know that how important the customer is, makes or breaks it accordingly, then of course you have a nice entrance to a change management program in your organization. So from a change management program activity, NPS is nice, but it doesn't deliver the value that it actually promised. That's okay if you want it for that way. There are measurements of customer experience, and they look clearly at behavior. Why behavior? Behavior meaning purchasing and repurchasing behavior. If we look at certain things, especially in the context of customer experience, we want to have a clear link to profitability. You cannot link customer satisfaction clearly to profitability. Neither can you do with service quality or with a net promoter score. So what we are trying to do here is very clearly, we want to connect why do people buy or do not, buy or do not more often, or recommend and recommend more often our product, service, and offerings. There's a measurement of customer experience quality, EXQ, which we worked on since 2007. It's now validated and used in many different contexts in many different countries. What it does, it measures the most important factors of an experience and puts it in a ranking from number 1 to number 21. So what you have there and what you measure is the 21 most important reasons why your customers buy or do not buy, or buy or do not buy again your services, products, and offerings. What is the importance about that? A, it can be measured everywhere, so you have a constant movement, see how changes are, you can link it to actionable results, and you can benchmark internally, meaning this branch versus this branch, operations in US versus Asia, etc., etc., to see if you can learn from other practices that are out there. However, one thing that's not only the importance in benchmarking is by linking it to behavior, you immediately have a link to profitability, seeing how it increases. It measures purchasing behavior, repurchasing behavior, and share of category. For those of you who are not familiar with share of category means how much money for one particular cluster a customer spends. You're all in the hotel industry, and probably customers of yours have their loyalty card. If you want to find out if they're loyal, all you have is the data from your loyalty card. And when you see that they are returning, you might assume that they are loyal to you. What you do not know is probably that the majority of the time this customer has two other loyalty cards from your competitors, who is using them accordingly when they are not at your hotel. Share of category tells you not only that they're using your services, but how often in comparison do they use it versus your competitors. Meaning, out of every $100, how many of the dollars lands with my hotel versus my competitor. And that's something that's quite powerful and makes an immediately link to profitability, because you not only see what drives the experience, but how it drives behavior. Meaning, in terms of now that we are doing what these customers wants us to do, will it actually change their behavior in terms, will their spending be more with us? But most of the time, while CEOs and others focusing on number 1, 2, 3 of the list, the things that are most influential, as a finance guy and a finance background, I always try to point out, look at the lower points of the scale. What is number 18, 19, 20, 21? Now, some of you might ask, why would we want to look at this? And some of you already have the answer. The answer is, let's see how much of our budget allocation goes in number 1, 2, and 3, and how much of the budget ends at the end of it. We have a customer, a client that we were working with, who were thinking about that one particular feature, meaning the interest rate of their service, was the most important factor in customers choosing them over their competitors. However, our research explored clearly that this is not the case. What was the case is that this was very low ranked, number 19. So, one thing the customer found out and said, this is great, you know what? This is an excellent cost-cutting opportunity, because if we try to convince and invest so much time towards one thing and it doesn't change the behavior of our customer, then we probably should shift it either towards something that changed behavior or simply save the effort. Cost-cutting opportunity equals profitability. Any more questions? We still have plenty of time to chat, so we are looking forward to your questions. In the meantime, Ingun, is there anything you would like to announce, future events, or something that might be of interest to our listeners?
Absolutely. The big next event take place at the World Travel Market. It's our European Digital Marketing Conference. It will take place at the World Travel Market on November 6th. And you have all got the information. If not, just drop us an email. You can use Benedicte's email, which is bgb@hsmai.no. I repeat, bgb@hsmai.no. As you all know, we are focusing quite a lot on revenue management and on digital marketing. And our 5th annual revenue management conference will take place in London on February 24th. At the same day, in the evening, we will also host the HSMAI European Prize Award. We had 300 people attending at that award last year. And we will also do many webinars in the future, specializing on service delivery, revenue management, and also, of course, on digital marketing. We have many advisory boards, and right now we have 2 very active advisory boards, which is the one on revenue management and the one on digital marketing. So if any one of you want to get in closer cooperation with HSMAI, please drop a note to us about that as well. HSMAI is rapidly growing all over Europe, and we are working very close with our head office in America. And as you might know, we have had certification for both revenue management and digital marketing there. But what we are doing right now, we are taking this from being an American product into a global product. And right now, our advisory boards in all regions, meaning Asia, Middle East, Europe, and America, so it will change a little bit, and it will be relaunched the spring of 2015, and it will take place in London. And we will also have national advisory boards in the key markets in Germany, UK, and also in France. So if any one of you want to get involved, please let us know.
Thank you. 90% of the votes are now in. And it seems that 44% vote that measuring customer experience is the number 1 challenge. Number 2, linking customer experience management to profitability, followed by number 3 with a far distance, 11% each, managing and defining the customer experience. And none of you believe that gaining support from the board is a challenge at all. You're in a very fortunate situation, I have to say, that gaining support from the board is not a challenge for you, because ever often it's not the case. I just wonder, and probably you can enlighten me there a little bit, if you cannot yet measure it and you cannot link it to profitability, how come you gain support from the board? Because, forgive me here, but every time I talk to members of the board, they say, okay, how are you going to measure it? How are you going to link it to profitability? If you cannot make the case, then I might not have a question here. Ah, there you go. We got some reaction. Let's see. Terje, can a customer experience strategy be global, or does it need to be bespoke for each market, country, etc. to be successful? Very good question. One thing we find, it's like with the international marketing, there is, how shall I say, a little bit of context that changes it according to where you are. Normally, a global customer experience management strategy revolves around the 5 dimensions we mentioned before, and they all have the same outlet. However, often in their operationalization and policy development, you have some other adaptation to the regional context or the country context. But that's ever often done only in the part of how do we communicate that with our customers. So the strategy is everywhere the same, just the communication between the company strategy, meaning how it's practiced, and the end consumer or the user of the service is slightly different one. So it is one global strategy. One size fits all here. Linking customer experience management to profitability, Isabella. You wrote linking customer experience management to profitability. Is there a question? If yet, could you just send it to me, Isabella? Thank you. Evgenia. Could you give good examples of great customer experience in hospital as an inspiration for others? Well, I can, as ever so often, I can give you significantly more bad examples of customer experience than good examples. But let me give you an example of a company we work with in hospitality. One thing they realized was the question of how do we really measure and how do we find out about great customer experience. And in their mind, it was following processes in a way that they showed reliability, meaning everything had a coming, everything had a going, everything had a tick in the box, everything was done on time, etc., etc., etc. One thing they did not understand, despite having the perfect scripts, the perfect timing, the perfect processes, while the satisfaction was high, the repurchasing or the patriotism, can we call it even? What would you call it what would you say, Ingen? Is that when you have one particular hotel, you always come back? Is that loyal or is it more a connection to it?
Loyal.
Would you say? Yeah. If you're loyal. But they had very little loyalty rating and they couldn't figure out why, because they were thinking, but we do everything right. Everything is delivered. They get what they want. We deliver based upon what they tell me. They are highly satisfied. Why they don't come back? So we looked at what the customers did here. And we asked the customers, first and foremost, you gave us a satisfaction ranking. And one thing we immediately found out, this satisfaction ranking had nothing to do with the customer experience. It only asked what the quality of the service is or the quality of the product. So one thing this company immediately had to realize, just because you deliver good quality of service or a good product, you don't have a good experience. By being process oriented, just delivering on time, they were focused on delivering this, but completely forgot that people need a little bit more personal attention, flexibility, because not every one of our lives fits into the schedule or the processes that one company had. So they did little things little things that often make a big difference. For example, having a checkout time that took a little bit longer without them interfering, or a customer had to ask for it. You encounter that ever so often, that they always say, if you have a longer checkout time, please ask us for it so we accommodate it. Or checkout time is at 10 o'clock. For other things, you have to ask. And just by simply telling them, our checkout time is until 1400 at your convenience, people felt reassured, felt that, oh, that makes a big difference. It takes the pressure off. I don't need to go. I don't need to beg. Who do I ask? Who can make the decision when I'm going to ask it for? By saying we have a more open policy. Until here you can go. And funny enough, one thing they found out, people actually checked out earlier than before on average. But they were all mentioning that it took relief. It made them at ease. There was a peace of mind. Another thing that was interesting here, these experiences or how they experienced it were immediately quantified. One thing we introduced was social media monitoring. I always love when people talk about social media and monitoring it, but most of the people do it afterwards, or in retrospective. What they introduced was a direct line with a promise that you get immediate response. So you could tweet or you could air out whatever it is. And in a certain period of time, in this case, it was 2 hours, you received a response, but not in a response in a way like, okay, we try to fix it. No, there was somebody coming to you or calling you and say, and one thing they changed immediately, and that made a big difference. Not only that in contact with them, it's how they got in contact with them. Think of yourself. Great customer experience hospitality. What does it mean? When do you go to somebody in the hospital, in hospitality, sorry, not in the hospital, Freudian slip. When do you go to reception? When do you ask something? Either you cannot find something, you're insecure, or something went wrong, or you need something additional. And there's always a barrier there. And very often, even in hospitality, as funny as it sounds, you get an attitude that people say, yeah, we want to help you, but there's not a lot of help there at the end of the day. It's not really, there's empathy, but there's not looking for solution. People ever often tell you what's not possible or what the rules and regulation were that they set out. What we wanted them to do is change their attitude, and they changed their attitude. Every single one who became in a position to deal with customers was selected not on which hospitality school they went on, but what kind of skills they have in terms of empathy, listening, and finding solution. So they hired people, again, from different fields: kindergarten teachers, nurses, policemen, firemen. And what did they do? The first thing they did, whenever there was an interaction with the customer, they said, how can we make you happy? And this alone made a huge difference. You cannot imagine what the impact was of a simple phrase to say, how can we make you happy? Most of us are not prepared for that, first and foremost, because we don't hear it very often. And secondly, this changed people who had a negative experience or were about to have a negative experience, because we all think if we tell somebody there's a problem, they're going to tell me, oh, we cannot fix it, or let's figure something out, or I don't know if we can do that, let me get back to you. But all they said, how can we make you happy? It takes the wind out of the sails, people relax, and they find, oh, finally somebody cares. And at the end of the day, it needed less processes, it needed more flexibility. And the company learned another thing: all these processes, rules, and regulation to follow internally also destroyed any kind of opportunities for the people working there to be seen as somebody integral for the customer experience. All of a sudden, it says, you know what? You deal with it. I give you the responsibility. I have the trust. You do it right. You got from me the carte blanche to do it. And from there on, to be quite honest, it sure changed. And it would change you too if you get that kind of warm smile. Not only a warm smile or service with a smile, but empathy and somebody that works on your solution. Somebody who tells you not what's not possible, but tell you how to make it possible. And even if they couldn't make it possible, one thing we got in all our research and respondents back said, you know why? They couldn't really do what I ideally wanted, but I will stay with him and I will recommend them for one reason: because I felt that they did the best they could. And that's a big difference. It's not often if you deliver according to a timeline, according to a process, or according to a customer satisfaction survey. It's about the perception that a customer has of you. And this morning during our session, we talked about that a lot. There are no best products. There are no best services. There are no best hotels. It's just the best perception in the mind of your customer. Again, think about the vanguards. We are not competing against others. You're not competing against other hotels. You are competing for the customer. And this is something that you always can have in mind. Does that answer your question, Evgenia? You're welcome. Mm-hmm. Isabella, was it just that you, oh, thank you. I like that. Thank you, Evgenia. Thank you, that agree. Because you guys have significantly more experience than I do in that field.
Evgenia, where are you based? In which country?
It was my poll quote. I thought about that, Isabella. But if you have a question, in Prague, in the Czech Republic.
Prague, fantastic.
Yeah, what Prague. A nice, yeah.
Wonderful.
Nice city, nice people. Yeah. And there you can see again, you guys have more experience than I have. I always look at it from an academic viewpoint, but I was a senior manager before I became an academic, so I had a real job, jokingly saying so. But the important thing is that sometimes as a manager, I know it, we lose sight of things because we have so much on our plate. There's the monthly report, the weekly report. We have to go here to the seminar here, have to report here, have to look back and forth. And very often we forget that the little things can make such a big difference because we are obsessed by KPIs, some kind of deadlines we have to meet to. We have some numbers that we have to go through instead of just taking a step back and say, what is really important? And sometimes, and ever often in our research that comes out, we have to go back and take a short-term loss that will give us a long-term win. And that's nothing new when we talk about customer experience. And believe me, I'm a historian on customer experience. There was a report in 1922 about the American sugar refinement. A little history lesson here. That they found out that the sugar prices were dropping, and even if they had with all their suppliers contracts and they could enforce the contracts, the American sugar refinery said, you know what, we are not going to enforce upon the law. We would have the right to do though, but they didn't. And ask why they didn't it in the 1920s, go figure out, said the experience we deliver here will give us a long-term profit. And this is sometimes and often what's missing here. Look at long-term profitability. A short-term win or just saying this is how we do it will often lead to a long-term loss, especially today. When a customer has a bad experience, he shares it on average with 23. If a customer has a good experience, he shares it on average with 3 to 4. There's a difference in it. So we should all work on delivering the best possible customer experience. And that's often get the best perception of your customers. And the customer is always first. It's simple, we are not telling you something new. In 1842, a French economist already stated, people don't buy products, they don't choose services. What they choose is something that gives them a great experience. Regrettably, sometimes we lose the time and the sight on that, but we should go back to that. And not only we should go back to that, but not only we should go back to that, the important thing is when we're doing it, it will be the most profitable thing to do.
Yeah. We would like to say a big thank you to you, Regina, and we will also come and visit Prague because we have a good partner there as well, which is called Muse, and you might know them. So we will get back to you concerning Prague too.
Mm-hmm. And there's another thing, Evgenia, and you say we are trying to work on this small difference constantly. If you and your colleague like to, and it will be later also mentioned in the entire presentation, we have on LinkedIn Oh, there you go. There are even partners. There we have on LinkedIn a group where academic researchers like me, the master the truth, just share our knowledge of what we do longitudinal and makes it easy accessible to you. So you can join our LinkedIn group and get access to the kind of information that you normally wouldn't get because it's only in a library and you need a big subscription. But my colleagues and I have they're a global agenda, and all we want to do is help you, because if we help you, we all will have a greater experience. And if we can make a little difference there, just a little difference in somebody else's life for once, then that's good enough for me.
We are about to end this webinar, so if anyone has a question, please post it now. Thank you.
And Evgenia, sorry. And I'm sure that my colleagues Ingun and Benedicte will send you the information regarding the name of the group. Thank you so very much for attending. It was a pleasure. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you in due course. Thank you so very much, Ingun, for having me. Benedicte for the great support to make that all happen, and for Siri at the Thief for being such a great host to us. Thank you all, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.